Welcome back to another episode of the Other Wing Chun Guy podcast. First of all, let me all say thank you for coming back and listening to me rant and rave again. Um, I'm just here to talk about Wing Chun, talk about Kung Fu movies, all that kind of good stuff. So let me do some initial housekeeping. I am going to try and post either on Tuesdays or Thursdays. There are several other podcasts that I really like and respect who have the other days kind of as their premiere day. And for the sake of giving everyone a chance to listen to all the great content that's out there, Tuesdays and Thursdays seem to be the day uh, that work out best. Um, I am officially on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify. I am having trouble with getting on Apple Podcasts. There seems to be an issue with something in the resolution of my podcast image, so at some point I'm going to get that resolved and I'll be on Apple Podcasts. But for now, you can find the video recording on YouTube and the audio on both SoundCloud and Spotify. So take your pick. I appreciate the tune in and listen on either one, any of them. The videos, if you watch this on YouTube, please put any questions or topics or anything you'd like me to talk about in the comment section there, because I'll check the comments of the YouTube videos and I'll be glad to get to that. Another piece of housekeeping, I have to give a huge shout out to the Martial Mania podcast, AJ and Gav. Guys, thank you so much for shouting out this podcast on your podcast. Greatly appreciated. For those of you who don't know, Martial Mania podcast, weekly podcast where they talk about all kinds of action cinema. Phenomenal. They are experienced. They've worked in the industry. They are martial artists. They do all that jazz. Go check them out. Give them a listen because honestly, anything I could talk about in the movies, they could talk about tenfold. They're great. Give them a listen. So their latest episodes are been banger after banger after banger. Friends of mine, friends of the show, please go give them a listen. Now, that said, let's get into the topic of the show. And the topic of the show is how much Prodigal Son is too much Prodigal Son. I am a huge fan of the movie Prodigal Son. Obviously, I'm a Wing Chun practitioner, and Prodigal Son is the quintessential Wing Chun movie. They have not made a Wing Chun movie better. It is a classic. In fact, I have an original poster from Hong Kong hanging right behind me, along with Warriors 2. Needless to say, I'm a huge fan, and I'm a huge martial arts movie fan. I own over 150 some kung fu movies. That was my last count. I've lost count. I'm a collector. I love martial arts movies, martial arts movie content, as many of you do. And so, needless to say, I have a lot of it. I actually counted up. I own more martial arts and kung fu movies than I do all other genres of movie combined. And I'm kind of a cinephile. Like, I love going to the movies. I love all that. But needless to say, I really want to talk about Prodigal Son because Arrow Video just released their Blu-ray release of Prodigal Son, and I got a copy. I ordered it, and they sent it to me like a week early for pre-ordering. So props to them for just doing a solid to their customers, especially those of us who pre-ordered. Arrow Video. Let me start by saying I really like them as a company. I know there's been a bit of snafu with their Bruce Lee collection that they released recently. I know that had some issues there, but honestly, every production that they've put out here that I've bought has been top notch. Shawscope Volume 1 and 2, both phenomenal. I have their Mallrats Blu-ray because that's really the best way to get a Blu-ray of Mallrats at the moment. But now they are doing more and more Kung Fu cinema. Um, they did some Shaw Brothers. They have a great release of 8 Diagram Pole Fighter. And now they're doing some of the other ones. there's a caveat to that, and that's kind of going to be into more of my point a little later on. So, just as a quick recap for those who have not seen Prodigal Son, and shame on you, it is not just the greatest Wing Chun movie ever made, but it is easily one of the top five greatest kung fu movies ever made. It's a Golden Harvest. Um, Sammo Hung wrote, directed, helped choreograph, along with Guy Lai doing the Wing Chun. Um, Stars a young Yoon Bu, Lam Ching Ying, Frankie Chan, who also did the music for the movie, and of course Sammo Hung, along with a phenomenal supporting cast of great Hong Kong actors across the board. It is a great movie, and there have been some new releases of it recently. Um, Story is of a story of a young Liang Jian, who is of course the famous teacher of Shamo Shan, and of course Shamo Shan taught Yip Man. It is a story of him as a youth, kind of a. I think he's supposed to be in maybe his 20s, somewhere. He has kind of a late teens, early 20s vibe to him. It doesn't. I don't think it ever specifically states his age, but he's kind of a young, still young up and comer who believes that he has become a very strong and predominant martial artist, and that is because his dad basically pays people off to let him win fights as a means to protecting his son, but also facilitating and helping allow him to have his interest in practicing martial arts. And that's all well and good until the Red Boat Opera comes to town, and uh, Lam Ching Ying's character of Lung Yi Tai kind of pulls the rug out from under him and lets him know, hey, dude, you don't know anything. Of course, Lung Yi Tai was a famous Wing Chun instructor. He's a Wing Chun master. He wasn't really an instructor. That we know of, historically speaking, Lang Jian was his only student. And that's if Lang Yitai was a real person. Along with Wang Wabo, we believe they were, but historically speaking, records, I don't know. Um, Needless to say, uh, Lang Jian wants to learn Wing Chun from him, wants him to be a Sifu. He ain't having any of it. That is until another character comes into play, and that is Frankie Chan's character. And he is another prodigal son, except that he is a legitimately good fighter. In this story, he's a Bak Mei practitioner, a white eyebrow style, and he has a reputation for being a fierce and good fighter. That being said, his father kind of has a caveat to him, and that is if anybody is a threat to him, he has his henchmen kind of off the people behind Frankie Chan's character's back. Um, After a one of the greatest choreographed fight scenes in the movie between Lam Ching Ying and Frankie Chan, it becomes apparent that the Lung Ji Tai character is a threat to Frankie Chan's character, and so the two henchmen get a group of guys together to basically kill everyone in the opera. Yun Bu and Lam Ching Ying's character escape. They go back to Lam Ching Ying's house next door to Wang Wabo, played by Sammo Hung. This is where we get a great comedic little bit with Sammo. And basically, that's where Yun Bu's Lang Jian training in Wing Chun begins. We have some really great and funny training sequences, which result, in him learning from both characters, and then going back to his hometown to see his father again. Um, there is some drama, which results in the final fight scene between Yuen Bu's character and Frankie Chan's character. It is probably there's not a there's it has the least Wing Chun of all the fights in the movie. It's still a great fight scene, and it's a great ending to the movie. Um, Again, I have to strongly recommend you watch this movie. It's one of my favorites, and frankly, if you have never seen it, it is one of the best kung fu movies you are ever going to watch. So, go out, go see it. It is so worth your time. And now there's a lot of ways you can watch it. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today in the how much Prodigal Son is too much Prodigal Son. And it's kind of a joke because I've owned 4 or 5 copies of this movie. um, as far as physical ownership goes, I'm down to 3. I've given a few away so other people can watch it. But I have a few, and there's a few options for you out there. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. How much Prodigal Son is too much Prodigal Son? Well, the answer to that is, are you a collector or are you not a collector? Um, I'm a collector. Like I said, I got 150 some movies back here. I've purchased a lot of kung fu movies. So that also means that I've gotten to dabble around in quality. Um, and what I'd like to do is kind of talk about them. So the first one I have is this one. This copy came from Hong Kong. Um, Picked it up. It's one of the ones you can pick up in Hong Kong if you're ever there. It's the Fortune Star release. That Fortune Star has been basically going through cleaning up, remastering, doing really nice releases. Um, the features are kind of sparse on this one. If I remember correctly, there's really not much in the way of features. It does have the Cantonese and Mandarin audio, along with Chinese traditional and simplified subtitles and English subtitles. It is a universal Blu-ray, so it plays on anything, which kind of was supposed to be the thing with Blu-rays. It was like they were all region free, but in more recent years, we've come to have region A, B, and C coding, and so if you're gonna buy a Blu-ray, make sure that it is either all region or region A if you live in the United States. It's kind of an important piece to know. Um, for the longest time, this was the best one you were gonna get. It was the cleanest. It had good subtitles. The subtitles were kind of cleaned up and better properly translated for English readers. There's still a lot of colloquial jokes that get lost. So I was lucky enough, my Sifu was from Macau and could translate Cantonese because he spoke it. It was his primary language. So I watched it with him one time, and he kept telling me all the colloquial jokes that were missing from the subtitles. But that being said, if you were an English speaker, this was one of the best ones you could get on the market for a long time. Um, Pretty simple. It was relatively cheap. I think you get it for under $30. Uh, Now, in the last year or so, there's been another company that has come out with Blu-rays in the UK, and that is Eureka. There's a few in the UK now. Eureka Films, 88 Films, and then Arrow does UK and US. Um, I have the Eureka release, which was a double feature. You got Prodigal Son and Warriors 2. It's a 2-pack. It's really nice. Came in this really nice slipcase. It has a ton of features. Um, I actually don't think I've actually seen all the features on this between Prodigal Son and Warriors 2 because there's just so many of them. Um, it came with a reversible poster of both movies. Again, I'm not too worried about that because I have the original Golden Harvest releases. Shout out to Real East, by the way, who I got those from. Um, if you're ever looking for collectibles, they have a ton of them. Here's the case, and again, kind of a breakdown of the features you got. Like I said, though, it is Region B. So Region B means it only plays really in the UK, Ireland. So unless you have a Universal Blu-ray player, you can't watch this in the US. It's region locked outside of the US. You need a Region A for the US. Um, Again, got your discs, got your movies. Has a really great little pamphlet with fun facts and details and all that kind of stuff. Um, Another piece of this, it has some really cool commentary by Frank Chang and Bobby Samuels. Bobby Samuels was a student of Sammo Hung's, member of the Hong Kong stuntman and all that. So they have a really great commentary on here. I listened to it the other night, um, going into all the details on the film. It's freaking great. The two dudes who really just know their stuff, and it's a great commentary. It has a video section on it, Wing Chun 101 by Sifu Alex Richter. He's a friend of mine, been on his podcast a ton. He's been on here. Has a great little vignette on here, Wing Chun 101. And then another vignette on Wing Chun by Guy Lai, who did the choreography for the movies, as well as some demonstrations by Sifu, I think it's Austin Go, if I remember correctly. Needless to say, you have two really kind of great little vignettes on Wing Chun on these discs. And then trailer artwork. The other kind of advantage of the Eureka release is that the Eureka release has cleaned up Cantonese, Mandarin, and English dubbings. So if you're like me and like I love to watch the movies in their original language. I usually watch most of my Hong Kong movies in Cantonese, unless I put one on for sleepy time, and then I'll put it in English so that I can kind of hear what's going on and just slowly nod out and fall asleep to the wonderful chop chop chops of these movies. um, so I would say, this was a great release, and it's a double pack, so you get two really good Wing Chun movies. You get Warriors 2, which was Sammo's first attempt at a Wing Chun movie, and then Prodigal Son, which was like his magnum opus of a Wing Chun movie. It's both really good movies in one outing. So I would say, it's a great kind of release. That being said, Arrow Video has released their release of Prodigal Son for US region A. Here's the weird caveat. This is actually the Eureka release, just licensed and recoded and reskinned for the US audience. It is all of the special features from the Eureka release on this one, including, like I said, the Wing Chun 101 by Sifu Alex and the Wing Chun commentary by Guy Lai. It is all of the same features. It is literally almost exactly the same disc, minus some interface. Just basically licensed and ported over for US Region A. That being said, it is a nice little custom slipcase, reversible cover, so if you're like me and you love the original poster, you can flip it and have the original poster as your DVD, your Blu-ray cover. Again, features on the back. If you open it up, there's the reverse cover with the their Arrow Video cover on it. Again, personally, I prefer this one. It's the original. It just looks better to me. They also provided a poster. Theirs is a reversible poster. Reversible poster has the original poster and the new cover, their cover on it, and then a Prodigal Son booklet with all the cool little tidbits about the movie on the inside. Overall, I'd have to say it is a great release too, but that's kind of on the merits of the fact that the Eureka release was a phenomenal release as well. They are, bar none, the best editions of the movie you're going to get. So, kind of hard for me to pick, but I do have an answer as to which one should you buy if you wanted to buy one. And seeing as I bought all of them, I can think I'm pretty qualified to tell you. If you live in the US and you do not want to invest in a region-free Blu-ray player, the obvious answer is to buy the Arrow Video release, because it is the US release. That being said, if you have a region-free Blu-ray player or live in the UK or in that region B area, and you can get a copy of the Eureka 2-pack specifically. Make sure it's the double feature. Buy that one because it's a double feature of two of the greatest kung fu movies by Sammo Hung that you're going to get. I have heard that Eureka is actually discontinuing the double feature pack. You'll be able to buy both movies individually from now on, but you cannot get both as a single pack. That either has been discontinued or is about to be discontinued. So if you can get your hands on one, do it. If you can't, don't worry about it. Like I said, for US audiences, Arrow Video has you covered. They have basically just ported the Eureka one, added their logos and stuff to it, cleaned it up. It still is just a phenomenal release of the movie. It's great. Finally, though, I have a fourth option for you, and that is because if you're somebody who is in need of saving space, you might not have a lot of room, so on and so forth. Arrow Video now has a streaming service. It's the Arrow streaming service. They even put a little ad for it in here. Um, Arrow does a lot of horror movies and stuff like that, but they are doing more and more kung fu movies. I subscribed to the service just to see what was on there. A bunch of the Shaw Scope stuff is on there. Warriors 2 is on there. Some of the other kung fu movies they've released are on there. Prodigal Son is about to be on there, if I remember correctly. And I will say this, for the $7 or $8 a month for that service, not only can you watch the movie, but you can pick the format. They don't just put up a single cut of the movie. They put up all of the language options that they have, as well as if it's an international release and a theatrical release. So you'll go into, for instance, with the Warriors 2. Warriors 2 has Mandarin theatrical, Cantonese theatrical, English dub international, and then some of the special features from the Blu-rays. So honestly, when it comes to a streaming service, Arrow Video, it's limited selection, but man, they are blowing some of the other streaming services out of the water with what you can watch. Like the fact to put a movie's all the dubs and some of the special features up on a streaming service for somebody to watch for like $8 a month, phenomenal. So if you're like me, and you're just a cinephile and you love that, and then if you don't have the space for maybe collecting Blu-rays because it can become cumbersome, dude, Arrow Video streaming service is great, great deal. There's a bunch of stuff on there I'm gonna watch just because I might not buy a copy of it, but I definitely want to watch it and try it out and see the movie. And it's on there and I can watch it, so that's gonna be freaking awesome. Um, so yeah, how much Prodigal Son is too much Prodigal Son? Well, in my case, too much is never enough. If somebody comes out with a 4K something release of it, I'll probably pick it up. It's one of my favorite movies. But for those of you who might say, I only need one copy, well, there you go. There are 3 or 4 options for you to choose from. Have your pick. Enjoy. They are, it's a real renaissance for fans of Shaw Brothers and Golden Harvest and all the other Hong Kong and Asian cinema out there. There's some really great companies putting movies out there for us to watch. Grab them, watch them, support these companies, please. And as a side note, if you're interested in more discourse on kung fu movies, like I said, Martial Mania podcast is a great podcast to listen to. I would say Fat Samurai Guy, another phenomenal podcast about movies, and he does more than just martial arts movies. He does all kinds of movie genres. On top of that, when he does do martial arts movies, he usually gets really good people like Frank Jang, Master Remaster, and Rick Myers on his podcast to talk about this stuff. And these are some of the top names in the industry who have been in it for decades and can tell you things I didn't even know, things that'll never be on these Blu-rays. They'll tell you. So go check those channels out. Give them a watch. There's tons of others out there. Please feel free to watch them. Give them a like and a subscription. They're all great. I myself am going to do a few more things on movies here and there. I'm going to get into talking some more Wing Chun here in the coming episodes. I want to do an episode soon on things like what are you working on? Because I'm working on a few things. And I know a lot of others of you out there are. So, thanks. Pick up a copy of Prodigal Son and enjoy it. And I look forward to talking to you all next time.